You're listening to Big World Network.
Climbing Family Trees, Whispers in the Leaves. Written by Trina Boice and Tracey Long. Read by Trina Boice. Episode 1. Digging for Our Roots. Why climb your family tree? Someone once said, if you want to have spiritual experiences, do your genealogy. There is definitely something magical and unusually compelling about genealogy. Unlike playing golf or doing crafts or participating in any other pastime, researching our family history is something sacred that calls to us. There is a special something that tugs at the genealogist's heart and pulls him to keep searching through dusty books and rolls of microfiche late into the night. You may be a professional genealogist or just a beginner trying to find a long-lost cousin on the internet. Your search may originate from curiosity, duty, or even religious dedication, but either way, you have felt that ancestral tug. The search for one's roots became an increasingly popular hobby thanks in part to Alex Haley's Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Roots, and the subsequent 1975 TV miniseries, which fascinated viewers as they watched the story of a family unfold from the shores of Africa to the slave plantations in America. Alex Haley explained it well when he said, quote, "In all of us there is a hunger, marrow deep, to know our heritage, to know who we are and where we have come from. Without this enriching knowledge, there is a hollow yearning. No matter what our attainments in this life, there is still a vacuum, an emptiness, and the most disquieting loneliness." End quote. People want to know where they come from, and they want to feel like they are connected to something bigger than themselves. As we listen to the voices whispering in the leaves of our family tree, we can hear the secrets to our own lives. They are the whispers of our ancestors who have paved the way for us. They often reveal us to ourselves. Have you ever wondered if one of your ancestors was a famous, important person? Perhaps your last name is Washington, and you've always fancied yourself as a distant relative of the heroic father of our country. If you've shown a flair for painting or writing, maybe you've wondered if your talent is really in your genes, coming from an ancestor with a name like Da Vinci or Shakespeare. By climbing your family tree, you may discover fascinating and inspiring information about your roots and even about yourself. Genealogy is the science or study of family lineage or ancestry. John Garland Pollard defined genealogy as, quote, tracing yourself back to people better than you are, end quote. It is as old as the Bible, which serves as the first written example of family history. Although some people think genealogy is just a dead subject, family history is the most popular hobby today in America, ranking above even traditional favorites such as football and baseball. The first day that the enormous database of worldwide family records became available on FamilySearch.org, it received over 1 million hits, more traffic than any other website in history. Any pastime claiming to be more popular than baseball may sound almost un-American, yet family history is at the core of patriotism. A love of country and personal heritage leads to one of the most patriotic hobbies you could have, genealogy. Alex Haley wrote, quote, each discovered United States family history becomes a newly revealed small piece of American history. Stated simply, a nation's history is only the selective histories of all its people. It is only through an unfolding of the people's histories that a nation's culture can be studied in its fullest meaning. End quote. As you begin the task of unraveling the mystery that is your origin, you will learn a great deal about the history of cultures and geography. This search for your roots will take you through time to exotic places, both on paper and in your imagination, and it will give you a greater sense of just exactly how you fit into this giant web of people and places that we call the history of mankind. As you research your heritage, you will see the role that you and your family play in the country where you now reside, often learning of traditions and sacrifices that your ancestors made to help bring you to where you are. It becomes a spiritual experience to discover how we are all part of one great whole. A sense of belonging develops that provides an anchor for you as you try to find your place in a world that is whizzing by. This new great hobby may take hold of even more of you than you'd like. This is a poem called Cooking, Cleaning, I'd Rather Do Genealogy by Mel Oshkins. They think that I should cook and clean and be a model wife. I tell them it's more interesting to study Grandpa's life. They simply do not understand why I hate to go to bed. I'd rather do 200 years of research work instead. Why waste the time we have on earth just snoring and asleep when we can learn of ancestors that sailed upon the deep? We have priests, rabbis, lawmen, soldiers, more than just a few. And yes, there's many scoundrels and a bootlegger or two. How can a person find this life an awful drudge or bore when we can live the lives of all those folks who came before? 100 years from now, of course, no one will ever know whether I did laundry, but they'll see our tree and glow, 'cause their dear old granny left for them for all posterity, not clean hankies and the like, but a finished family tree. My home may be untidy, 'cause I've better things to do. This old granny's pulling roots and branches out with glee. Her clothes ain't hanging out to dry. She's hung up on the tree. End quote. Genealogy is not merely family group records, pedigree charts, microfilms, technical regulations, or lengthy lists of he begets. These are only some of the tools. Family history seeks to study one's own family members from birth through childhood, marriage, career, posterity, and on up to death. Each person's life is connected to those who came before, as well as to those who are yet to come. There is a single thread that ties those heartstrings together. To study one's family is to study oneself. While facts such as names, locations, and dates form the skeleton of a genealogist's work, fleshing out a family's personal history is what makes the search rewarding. A part of our ancestors lives still deep within us. So why have so many millions of people become involved and even driven by an obsessive passion to research their family history? The reasons are as varied as the leaves on a tree. One reason may be the simplest, just because it's fun. Remember the joy of playing hide and seek as a child? Genealogy has a bit of that same mystery and intrigue. As you look for clues about your heritage, you get a childlike thrill when you finally find that elusive ancestor who has been hiding. Digging for family roots also gives you the same sense of joy you felt when you dug in the dirt as a child. It was just fun to feel the earth under your fingertips and crumble the dirt. Searching for your ancestors is often dirty work, as you may often find yourself digging among dusty old books and archives. It really gets earthy when you take field trips to cemeteries. There's a human element of fun when you're researching people who really lived and not just searching for faceless names, dates, and places. One girl's genealogy-obsessed mother had to chuckle when her young daughter named her dolls one day Jenny, Jennifer, and Genealogy. So, how could romping through cemeteries and turning pages in old dog eared books be fun, you ask? You may never understand it until you've tried it. If you're the kind of person who likes to people watch at airports or other busy places because you think we humans are just so doggone entertaining, then you're going to love doing genealogy. Death is just part of the journey of the human experience. These statements on real death certificates demonstrate the humor that can be found even in death. Quote, died, nothing serious, end quote. Here's another one, quote, went to bed and woke up dead, end quote. Here's another, quote, died, don't know why, never had a fatal illness before, end quote. And these are true, by the way. Quote, cause of death, an axe over the head, precipitory cause, someone else's wife, end quote. And the last one, quote, he died for want of another breath, end quote. Now there's a true statement, right? Others are attracted to recording their family lineage for academia's sake. Tracing lines of lineage and ancestry is as ancient as the history of man. Lineages were originally shared orally from generation to generation, and later societies began to write them down. Tribal lineage was recorded by the House of Israel in the Bible, as well as by the Greeks, Romans, and Chinese. Lists of hereditary kings were compiled by the ancient Sumerians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Indians, and Asians. In medieval Europe, landholders kept records of lineage to establish rights to land, property, and rank. Attention to descent and rank was also determined and demonstrated in coats of arms for many societies. One of the original uses of genealogy was to prove that a person was descended from particular kings and queens in order to acquire certain benefits or levels of status. Not surprisingly, until the 16th century, the science of genealogy was most often used by either rulers or upper-class families. Extensive records began to be kept later, making it far easier for ordinary citizens to trace their lineage. Today, anyone can research their history to find out if they meet the qualifications for admittance into social organizations, such as the Sons of the American Revolution, or even to find out if their heritage qualifies them for a certain college scholarship. Still, others are intrigued by their genetic lineage, often as a result of questions such as why a red-headed daughter with freckles emerged in a family of all dark-haired boys. Are great-aunt Althea's genes coming through, or is that elusive milkman at work again? Tracing a particular genetic composition can be extremely helpful for someone who needs to know what medical problems might be lurking in their future, or who needs to understand how to avoid certain health tendencies in their family. Knowing that diabetes, lupus, or high cholesterol, for example, run in your family can be a great motivator for improving healthy habits in younger generations. So how could romping through cemeteries and turning pages in old musty books be fun, you ask? When my sister Tracey was a young college student, she explained it in these words: midnight madness with microfilms. When I was in college, I would work hard to finish assigned projects and papers so I could reward myself with well-deserved time in the genealogy section of our campus library. After several hours of digging through microfilms, I had found some records that revealed some families I had been searching for. The library lights were dimming, and music was being played on the speakers to warn students that the library would be closing in 15 minutes. My pulse raced with the clock as I quickly read through the films. The music stopped and the main lights turned off, but I was still entranced by my find. I was seated behind a microfilm reader, which was fairly dark, so the dimming lights didn't threaten me. In fact, I didn't even notice. I glanced around from my hidden corner and didn't see anyone. I continued searching greedily for my treasure online. At least 45 minutes later, after recording details from my new discovery, I meandered out behind my sacred cove to the exit of the library. My evening would have been perfect, except for the security guard who halted my escape and began to interrogate me, asking why I was still in the library. After trying to explain to him about my great genealogical discovery and the urgent need to complete the task, he rolled his eyes with intolerance and unlocked the doors for my exit. Trying to explain to someone about a precious genealogical find who doesn't share the same obsession with genealogy is like trying to explain the savor of salt to someone who has never tasted it. Okay, start that over again.
Back off now.
Yeah. Many genealogists, in their quest for finding familiar names or dates to document their family connections, have been found in a compulsive trance in front of a microfilm reader. The fire of this kind of passion is kindled by something deeper than a mere hobby for fun. For some, researching their family history can become a spiritual quest when they read in Malachi chapter 4, verse 5, which offers a sweet promise as well as a stern warning. Quote, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse." End quote. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has the world's largest collection of genealogical data and freely shares it with anyone who is interested. Because of their belief in the eternal family unit, they have gathered family history records of over 1.5 billion deceased people. To members of the Church, nothing is more important or rewarding than family. The Church has an impressive mission to acquire and preserve the records of mankind and to help families find the links to their... Goodness. Okay, let me start that again. The Church has an impressive mission to acquire and preserve the records of mankind and to help families find the links to their family chains. Most religions proclaim some form of an afterlife and teach that, although our ancestors have preceded us in death, we can expect to see them again and live with them. The veil that separates the living family members from those who have passed on is often thin, and an unseen hand, perhaps from a loving ancestor watching on, seems to help guide the efforts of the researcher. One woman remarked, quote, "This genealogy is more than just a hobby. Strange things happen to me all the time. Pages turn in the books that I am reading. I get these funny hunches which prove very successful. I hear voices in the night, and I often have dreams about my ancestors. It is as if genealogy affects both heaven and earth." End quote. And it does. Another amateur genealogist of 10 years explained, quote, "I feel there is a spiritual connection versus coincidences when working on one's family history. I feel that just about every coincidence in life is, indeed, a spiritual experience." End quote. It is our hope that this series will not only provide you with useful information in your genealogical journey, but that it will also provide encouragement for when you hit those roadblocks or feel overwhelmed. This series contains a compilation of many stories that demonstrate the magical moments and experiences treasured by genealogists, both amateur and professional. The objective is to inspire, educate, and uplift your weary eyes as you take a break from searching for your own ancestors. As in climbing real trees, family tree climbers need to stop and rest a while to enjoy the view before ascending further. While you enjoy these true stories by fellow researchers, may you feel refreshed and full of hope to begin your climbing again. But be careful, that genealogy bug just might get you. In order to make this series a truly helpful tool, we're going to give you an assignment at the end of each episode. Now don't panic, it won't be difficult, but it will be something to help push you along the path of progress in your genealogy research. By the time you finish reading this series, you will not only have gained some useful research tips and have felt that spirit of Elijah tugging at your heart, but you will also have completed some specific tasks that you might have been putting aside for someday. Happy heritage hunting! Episode 1 Assignment. Write down why you want to research your family's roots. Why is it important to you? What will you do with the information when you find it? Good luck!
Visit BigWorldNetwork.com for more e-series samples, or sign up for a $3 a month subscription for full access to all written and audio e-series content, accessible from the website, mobile, or e-reader devices. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Big World Network.